Understanding right and wrong is incredibly valuable and unfortunately neglected in any competent manner in any of our institutions. So let's explore, what does it mean to be right? What does it mean to be wrong? Well, the first thing to understand is that everything is a cycle, that life is a cycle. And the simplest way of understanding that cycle is the breath. And it's a very useful cycle because it's so simple. It's binary. So you breathe out. Now, we're fully exhaled here. And it's no philosophical debate that for life to continue, I need to inhale. So if someone tells me that what I really need to do is at this point exhale at this point in the cycle of life, they are wrong based on the evidence. Life continues when the next step is forward, is inward. So if we understand that life is a rhythm, atoms have a rhythm, breath has a rhythm, walking has a rhythm, the earth spinning has a rhythm. Now, if someone was to tell the earth, okay, you've pivoted 90 degrees this way, 90 degrees this way, and the earth says, what should I do next? And they say, just go backwards. Go backwards. It doesn't work. It's wrong. So why do we trust and learn from life? Well, according to our scientists, our current priests, if you will, life started this big, less than the size of a pea. 24 billion years ago, if you believe our priests, the entirety of the universe, all of it, you, me, your grandmother, Mars, the solar system, all of it, fit into less than the size of a pea. That's how big this is. It's less than the size of a pea. It was all here. And then, out of nothing, poof, right? And life has been going for 24 billion years according to the current narrative. I say according to the current narrative because scientists have been arguing about this for hundreds of years and continue to change. But nonetheless, we started out very small a long time ago. And here we are. Now, if you were to give life a rating from 1 to 10, like imagine you're a retiree and you want to grow your portfolio. And you've got $1. So you give life this little dollar, less than the size of a pea, of energy. And you say, life, let's see what you can do with this. If you do a good job, there'll be a bonus for you, right? And life says, well, how much, what kind of return are you looking for? You just say, just make it as big as possible. I want to turn this dollar into billions. And life says, well, let's see what we can do. And this is, of course, the magic of compound interest. With enough time and a competent investment strategy, you can take a very tiny amount of energy and turn it into the universe. Not a bad track record, is it? Well, how good is your track record? How many things have you taken from less than the size of a pea and turned into self-sustaining ecologies, populating universes? Well, that's why we learn from life. And what life teaches us is that it works with a series of patterns. of algorithms. And if you understand what the patterns are and you work with it, so money goes in and money goes out, money goes in, money goes out. And if you understand that, if you don't invest up here and sell down here, you will learn from life and you will be rich. If you don't try and exhale over here and inhale when you can't fit any more in your lungs, you will live. You will live. You'll learn from life. Life is a cycle. Now, the key thing is to have models. Why models? Because reality is way too big for our limited RAM processing to catch even a tiny glimpse of almost all of it. Life is just too big to create all of this, to create an accurate map of subatomic particles. We can't even track the subatomic particles of a single atom for very long, and we've spent who knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars with the Large Hadron Collider and stuff just to figure out what's going on in one atom and within our current paradigm and maps. Well, mapping out reality, which is trillions and trillions and trillions of atoms, is just too big of a job. So we create simplistic heuristic models of reality. We don't discuss the subatomic particles in each human being and name them off one by one. We just say, you're Joe. Are you Joe? Of course you're not Joe. Joe is simply a good label that I can think about that's at a dumb enough level that I can grasp it and you can grasp it. So you're Joe and I call you Joe, and you know what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all those trillions of subatomic particles moving around in all these patterns. I'm talking about all those memes. I'm talking about all those thoughts, all those feelings. I'm talking about all of that. We're just labeling it Joe so that we can digest and move to the next point. Now, the trouble is our maps are wrong, meaning we're very rudimentary as a very tiny part of life, trying to explore life. So life created us with the capacity to explore us. That's a pretty big accomplishment of life. And we try and figure out what the future will bring. We try and figure out what cycles we're a part of and what's going to happen next. Why? Because if we know what's going to happen next, we can live. We can participate in the acceleration of life. Our finances can live. If we know that the market's going to go up to here, and then down here, and then up to here, and market down to here, if we know that, and we buy here and sell here, buy here and sell here, rather than being about neutral, we made 200%. That's a good return on investment that any hedge fund will take. 200%, because you could predict the future. So right and wrong is relative to life. Why? Because we all want to feel good and we all want to avoid feeling bad. And to do that, we have to partner with the rhythms that we are a part of. We have to participate in the rhythms that we are already in, but which our cult, our series of thoughts, feelings, paradigms, beliefs, choices, action, may not have educated us about. The principal didn't put this on the curriculum. But it's a key pattern that you're a part of. It's a key pattern you're a part of. You just don't know the pattern because you haven't been taught the model. And so, right is ultimately about well-being within a given context. And so, A more sophisticated model than the binary model of in and out is the circle. Why is it more sophisticated? Well, the truth is that a breath is not just in and out. It's not just the extremes. It's the entire in is half of the circle, and the entire out is half of the circle. There are points every step of the way in a revolution of life. You start off, now it's important why we reduce the circle first into binary patterns, then into triangular patterns, then into square patterns, why we reduce the circle into simple pattern models is because the circle has an infinite number of gradients. There are an infinite number of dots in the circle, and we can't keep track of them all. And so we have to dumb the circle down to something we can track. This isn't too bad. We can remember 5 things. So we can make a 5-system heuristic model of the circle, of the cycle that we're talking about. And this is what, like if you want to learn sales, it's a cycle. It's a process. And you have to start by building rapport, and then you have to present your thing, then you have to deal with resistances, then you have to overcome the resistances, then you have to present your product and thing as the best option. Then you have to close the sale. Then you have to disengage, and then you have to make the sale again, right? Now, the truth is there are 1,000 different micro points of that sale. It's just that nobody can learn 1,000 points of selling. So they learn a 5-point system of selling. Build rapport, do this, do this, do this, do this, repeat. And so the right way of doing things is to continue around the circle. That's the right way. That will lead to well-being and to avoiding unnecessary suffering. So that's the right way. The desire to survive, to feel secure in that survival, to experience love and belonging, to develop self-esteem, to develop our personal gifts and abilities, to bring those gifts and abilities into the world, to become part of something bigger than ourselves, riding the wave of abundance that comes from success. That desire, that drive is a need, and it is an innate engine in every human being. The skill with which those drives are pursued determines the success rate, because a majority of human beings do this incredibly clumsily. And 95% of all cults are now extinct, according to anthropologists. 95% of all languages are now extinct. 95% of all species that have ever lived on the planet are now extinct. Because life is constantly iterating. That's how life went from this P into the multiverse we have today, is by iterating, experimenting, and by eating herself. She creates 1,000 different models, and they compete to consume energy, to consume themselves, if you think of life as one great ecology. If you think of our life as a great ecology, we have to compete with what? Ourselves. We must consume who we were and put it into what we will become. If we don't consume and absorb what we were, we cannot move and iterate into what we will become. You don't get to be a tantruming 2-year-old. I'm not moving, I'm not budging, I'm not putting on my clothes. You don't get to be that and a well-dressed executive. And you don't get to be a happy, retired nudist, whatever's the next iteration of that, while still wearing a wool suit. It was never optimally comfortable. You have to consume what was in order to move to what will be. And it is the ego that identifies with what is now, and that is afraid of the unknown, of what will be, of its future, of life. That is the tension for most of us. Who are you? I am the one who thinks this, who feels this, who does this, who believes this, who is like this. I'm the one who says this. Do you want to change? Do you want to become a different? No. This is me. Everything else, that's not me. This is me. Well, what about thinking this instead of this? No, that's not me. This is me. And so in this resistance to the endless iteration of life, we fight with the breath of that which we are becoming. And to the degree that we do so, we die. We die as an iterative part of life's highly successful algorithm. And to the degree that we honor and love what has been, you got me here, business suit. Thank you. Thank you. I've got it from here. I've got it from here. Let's move on to a whole new things that couldn't be done within this paradigm, but now they can be done. You got me here. Let's move on. Let's move on to where we can go moving forward. I don't want to change, says ego. I'll be out of control. I want to guarantee. What's it going to be like? When I get to that country, what's it going to be like? Am I going to like it? Try it and see. Go out into the big unknown. So, right and wrong, it's a spiral process. There's never a static point, but there is a direction. And the direction is, if you're all the way inhaled, at your limit of that point, your direction is to let go. If you've totally let go, I don't care about anything, I don't need anything, I don't want anything, I don't love anything, I don't hate anything, I've completely and utterly let go. I've exhaled as far as I possibly can. I'm not even sure if I'm human anymore. Then life says to inhale. I'm this, I'm attached to this is me, this is me, I want this, I don't want that. I'm attached to all of it, this is me, I'm completely attached. Life says to let go. In a revolution, if you are in a car and your wheels are moving forward as you're moving towards your destination, there is a right way to turn. And it's clockwise. It's clockwise. From the outside of the car, it's clockwise. It's clockwise. That's the right way. And so we have this thing, what gives you the right? What gives you the right to tell me what to do? Data, competency, physics, science. Because we all want to feel sustainably better. That's innate. And we all want to avoid feeling chronically worse. That's innate. Because We want to fulfill our hierarchy of human needs, from survival to security to love and belonging, self-esteem, developing our gifts, bringing our gifts abundantly into the world and blessing our own and others' lives, and becoming part of something bigger than ourselves, because we want to do that. Because it feels better to do that than not to do that. In other words, to that core drive, I want to feel sustainably better. I want to avoid feeling chronically worse. No one who believes that's possible will argue with that. Now, people who have experienced severe helplessness and trauma and do not believe that's possible will argue with that, because it medicates the helplessness, meaning their helplessness and despair feels worse than being a cynic. And so they will adopt the cynicism and the denial to feel competent in their helplessness. If you cannot successfully alleviate helplessness, you will competently enforce it so that you can feel powerful, because to feel powerful and have agency is a step forward relative to helplessness. And so you will move, you want that drive, and you will feel much more better sustainably than if you have not survived, than if you're insecure in your survival, than if you have no love and belonging for yourself, for others, and from others, that if you have no self-esteem, that if you do not know what your gifts are and haven't developed them, you will feel worse than if you know what your gifts are and have developed them and are developing them. And if you bring your gifts into the world creating abundance for others, you will feel better than if you do not. And if, having done so, you reach outside the bounds of your limited ego, the limited self, the limited identity, and reach to become part, to understand your interconnectivity with all that is, you will feel better than if you remain an isolated particle with no understanding of your role and place in the cosmology. You will feel better the more you meet your human needs. You'll feel better the more you meet your need to breathe in and breathe out. That's what makes it right. It feels right. It is right as part of life to reach our potential, to feel sustainably better, to master the skills of conscious success leading to the pinnacle of feeling better, which is way up here, conscious, sustainable fun. Down here, you have helpless, despair, and misery. I'm in misery, I'm in trauma, I'm in despair, I have no hope, I am absolutely helpless, and I am absolutely alone. That's down here. You will feel sustainably better every step of the way you take from here up to here. And up here is conscious, sustainable fun. Now, it needs no explanation. Why be free? That needs an explanation, because it feels better, right? Why be free? Because it feels better to be free than to be imprisoned. Why have power? Because it feels better to have power than to be powerless. Why be a perpetrator instead of a victim? Because it feels better to be a perpetrator than a victim of shame. Why feel competent? Why develop competence? Because it feels better to be in control of one's outcome than to feel helpless. And so every traumatized, abused child that cannot heal and deal with their trauma instead passes it on, because that feels better than being alone and helpless and not passing it on. That's what people have been doing for thousands of years in a traumatically and psychologically incompetent cult that knows how to traumatize and abuse its children and its people, but does not know how to comfort the trauma, repair the trauma, deliver post-traumatic growth with any systematic protocol. In a cult that knows how to traumatize its people and leave them there in a state of traumatized helplessness and fear, they will give traumatized helplessness and fear in some form or other, psychologically, physically, sexually, to someone else in a helpless state, someone who's smaller than them, until the cult decides to introduce a few hours of traumatic literacy. Maybe at the time when children are being abused in middle school and high school. So down here is the worst, up here is the best. Sustainable fun. Conscious, sustainable fun is the only thing that needs no explanation. Why do you want to have fun? Because it's fun. You've arrived. Why do you want sustainable fun rather than unsustainable fun? Because it's more fun. Why do you want to know how to create conscious, sustainable fun rather than just be a child and at the effect? Because it's more fun to know how to have conscious, sustainable fun than to have no idea. I don't know. It could be taken away from me at any time. I don't know how, why, whatever. I have no idea. Because it's more fun. It's more fun to be successful than to fail. It's more fun to be competent than to be incompetent. It's more fun to have fun than not to have fun. And that's where we're all pointing. Everything in our biology, our DNA, our psyche is pointing towards conscious, sustainable fun. And it's rewarding us with more fun every step of the way. It's rewarding us every step of the way. And so, how do we know we're getting there? Because we're consciously and sustainably having more fun. That's it. And no one in their body, in their innocence, is against that. What we're against is the incredibly toxic detours, incredibly long and circuitous route that our cult offers us to get there. First of all, they say, you're not going to have any fun as an adult. Well, you've just taken my whole goalpost away. There's no fun being an adult? You want me to grow up? Give me a break, right? So, there is an objective right and wrong. And what gives you the right to tell me to do this versus this is that it works or it doesn't. There is a right and a wrong. And everyone is on the continuum. Now, within uniqueness, what's right for one person is not right for the other person. Just because I'm finishing my exhale and it's time for me to inhale does not mean that you've finished your exhale and are ready for your inhale. If you're ready for your exhale when I'm ready for your inhale, then it is right for you to exhale, to take life the next iteration, the next spin of the circle. Everything is a cycle, and there is a way. Everything is a cycle, and we're moving through the cycle in a direction. We're moving through the cycle in a direction. And even though the system is crude and this other system might go around the circle in this way and this way and this way and this way, different language, different points, moving around the circle anyway. A right system will take you in the direction of the next step imperfectly. It's not going to be perfect. If you're going to this house over here, and you're coming along this highway here, and there's a street here, and then there's a street here, this is not the perfect path. The perfect path would be here. It's just there's no road there. But it would be wrong to go here if there is a road here. The right path to get to your location is here, and then arrive and get here. So none of the systems are perfect. Breath is pretty close to it, but certainly no human system of politics or whatever is perfect. The question is it moving towards balance? Is it moving towards balance? Is it moving towards symmetry? See, that's how you know that you're taking the right path. If I exhale, and I believe that inhaling is evil, and that only spiritual people exhale, and I keep exhaling until I'm dead, that's extremism. That's not the right way. If I believe I need to take a big breath in and a big breath out, I live. I have a model that predicts the future, that increases sustainable well-being. This is what's right. This is what's wrong. What gives you the right to tell me what to do? Do I see you better than you see yourself? Do I understand the systems you are a part of? Do I understand where on the system you are? And do I have a direction that moves you towards symmetry, towards balance and grace? If yes, I have the right. Meaning I have it. That's right. It takes you towards well-being. Now, where's the evidence? In the data. If you're breathing out and you're all the way out, and I say now, breathe in, and you breathe in, and you feel terrible, then the data shifts. I didn't have a good model. I'm sorry, I was wrong. But if you breathe in and feel great, that's confirmation that I was right. And because I was right, you won. Life improved. That's why data is so important in understanding right and wrong and watching, respecting the data, looking constantly, is this moving towards right or is it moving towards wrong? And there is this right and wrong trajectory corresponds with the continuum of intelligence, which runs parallel to the continuum of well-being. Intelligence equals the efficiency with which energy, time, money, and natural resources is transformed into sustainable, felt, experienced well-being. Intelligence mirrors the efficiency with which energy is transformed into sustainable well-being. It's a gradient, it's endless. There's always a more efficient way. And as you climb the intelligence gradient, spending less energy for more and more sustainable well-being, you are moving inevitably towards conscious, sustainable fun with mastery. So that is a little bit about right and wrong.